One of the fundamental tenets of creating and advertising products in the late 1990s, especially products geared towards young people, was that it had to be extreme. And just to clarify, that's extreme, spelled with a less than usually present amount of ease. The music, angry. The hats, backwards. There wasn't anything that couldn't be presented as louder, dumber, or more violent than the norm. Somehow, this could even include football, which was already as violent as athletic competitions got, without being full ECW. Now, for pretty much my entire childhood, I spent basically every weekend at Monaco Lane's bowling alley in southeast Denver, where my parents and grandparents had bowled in leagues longer than I'd been alive. Me and my bowling alley friends mostly spent our evenings roaming the building, but usually ended up at the arcade, scamming quarters to play whatever the new machine was. This particular new machine was a football game. Now, in the winter of 1997-1998, 9-year-old me found most sports, especially football, fairly tedious, and not worthy of my attention when I could just play Mortal Kombat 3 or whatever instead. Normally, I wouldn't give a sports game the time of day, but it was 1998, and my hometown Denver Broncos had just won their very first championship. So it was quite easy to get caught up in Super Bowl fever. Plus, this football game was from Midway, who also did the aforementioned Mortal Kombat 3. Midway also made the highly influential NBA Jam, which was not the first simplified, over-the-top, goofy basketball game, but it was the first to find true mainstream success. It took basketball, but cut the number of players from 5 to 2, and mostly focused on being able to do bitchin' dunks. And if your dunks were bitchin' enough, your ball would literally light on fire. Midway wanted to do the same thing with football, and so they created NFL Blitz, which to my 9-year-old eyes didn't look or sound anything like the dry, boring football games I was familiar with. It was 7-on-7, cutting 4 players on each side. The plays were basic schoolyard stuff. The controls were simple and mostly run through the joystick. The game automated extra points because those are boring stuff. The other twists were that you had to go 30 yards for a first down instead of 10, and there was no penalties. You could hit receivers before the pass got to them, and you could do all manner of wrestling moves to them after the whistle. It was, for lack of a better word, extreme. It was, apparently, initially, a little too extreme for the folks at the National Football League, who were apparently expecting something a little more silly and cartoony like NBA Jam, not really being willing to acknowledge that in an over-the-top version of professional football, the only thing you can really ramp up is the violence. They apparently forced Midway's hand to some extent, and got them to tone down a lot of the most egregiously savage things, which, especially now that I've got 25 years of football sims in my gaming history, leads to NFL Blitz honestly playing a bit too close to regular, ordinary football. As a result, NFL Blitz is not an extreme version of football, so much as it is just a messy, needlessly chaotic one. The supposed simplification in directional passing just makes things less exact than each character having a button assigned to them, since characters are changing directions so often. And the ability to take down receivers pre-catch just leads to a lot of incompletions and punts. Exactly the opposite of the all-killer, no-filler experience the game is purporting to have. By the way, in case you're wondering what the difference is between NFL Blitz and NFL Blitz 2000, the game I'm actually technically reviewing, the answer is literally almost nothing. NFL Blitz 2000 is technically a home port of NFL Blitz 99, an arcade follow-up to the original that is so identical that most game websites don't even differentiate between them. The only major difference is apparently that 2000 has added a perfunctory, pretty bare-bones season mode, which I did not play to completion to see if there is a perfunctory, bare-bones championship celebration. The game is, admittedly, gorgeous aesthetically. Player models are shiny and exaggerated, and we played it so often growing up that pretty much every sound effect here is permanently burned into my brain, every noise triggering an unconscious memory of childhood. I think the less you know about the game of football itself, the more likely you are to really enjoy NFL Blitz. It's loud and shiny and angry and purports to not be your daddy's football or whatever, but is mostly just a blaringly noisy, thinned-out version of the real thing with drastically less replay value. It's Chuck E. Cheese on a skateboard with a backwards hat. I mean, hell, NFL 2K had a bunch of Arn Anderson's spinebuster tackles too. And here, after the first 3 or 4 post-play Macho Man elbows, it starts losing its charm. Now, this is not to say that asking Midway to tone down their ideas is necessarily a bad thing. In 2004, once Electronic Arts got the exclusive NFL license for their Madden series, Blitz developers took it as an impetus to indulge in all their most egregiously inappropriate tendencies, with 2005's M-rated, absolutely psychotic Blitz the League, which features Mortal Kombat-esque X-ray bone breaks and allows players to take steroids on the sideline to recover quicker from injuries. It's that fucking game. But as far as Blitz 2000 goes, I'm not 10 anymore. And I loved actual football for many, many years after. Years that have made me realize how tepid an exaggeration NFL Blitz 2000 truly is, adding only more muddy confusion to a sport that is already plenty violent enough, without enough of the novelty or levity that NBA Jam possessed, to really make a worthwhile case to keep coming back for more. Next time, y'all ever wanted to go flag to flag?